Hi there, thanks for rolling in. My name is Joe, and welcome to Mr. Dice Guy. Today's video is one that I've been looking to put together for a really long time and is kind of the reason I started this channel to begin with. Because as of today, I am finally putting myself out there to be a 5th edition publisher. Now you may be asking yourself, well, how the heck is Joe gonna do this? Well, fortunately, everyone can be a 5th edition publisher. Ever since Wizards of the Coast put the 5th edition rules into Creative Commons back in 2023, after the whole, OGL thing, it basically put them on the same level as just about everybody else in terms of publishing is concerned. Now that Wizards of the Coast doesn't control who does and who doesn't publish 5th edition content, they're essentially on the same level as Cobalt Press or Ghostfire Gaming or even me. Since the 5th edition rules have been made into essentially a free dev kit, anybody who publishes for 5e is a 5th edition publisher. That includes Wizards of the Coast. It was best put by Mike Shea over at Sly Flourish. Now that Wizards of the Coast doesn't control it, there is no such thing as an official 5th edition publisher, nor a third-party 5th edition publisher. There's only 5th edition publishers. So today I'm putting out my first creation as a 5th edition publisher. It's a Ranger subclass called the Wilderness Aspect Ranger. Now, I've been cooking some stuff up for a couple of years now, but I chose a Ranger subclass first for a couple of reasons. The first reason is because this Ranger subclass works really nicely with both versions of 5e, from both the 2014 rules and the 2024 rules. And the second reason is kind of based on the first. The 2014 rules are the only ones in Creative Commons as of this recording. And if I had to add in a third reason, Rangers need help. So what is a Wilderness Aspect Ranger? What does it do? Rangers that harness the forces of nature and learn to hunt as animals do are able to adopt a power called the Wilderness Aspect. These Rangers use primal magic to take on the traits and skills of animals. By using the power of an animal aspect, they can increase their versatility to meet the demands and challenges of their situations. Those that adopt the Wilderness Aspect stand at the divide between civilization and nature and use weaponry, magic, and animalistic instinct to survive. So now let's jump into the features. Starting at level 3, you get 2 features. First, let's start with Wild One. Wild One is a bit of a ribbon feature. It gives you proficiency with your choice of animal handling, medicine, nature, or survival. And if you're building a skill-based character, you're in luck, because if you happen to have all those proficiencies, you can then choose another proficiency from the Ranger's class list that they can choose at level 1. And then the second feature that you get is the main feature of the subclass, Wilderness Aspect. Wilderness Aspect gives you 6 choices of animals that you can gain the abilities of. It's almost like the Ranger's answer to the Totem Warrior or Wildheart Barbarian. You're able to choose an animal and then essentially gain the power indefinitely. But don't worry, you can change them out pretty frequently. So let's look at which animal aspects you're able to lean into. Starting off with the Serpent Aspect. This allows you to make an attack before you take any movements, actions, or bonus actions on your turn. It's sort of like you get to give your enemies a little bit of a jump scare and strike quickly like you're some sort of rattlesnake. The Ursine Aspect is something of your tank option. It gives you bludgeoning, cold, piercing, and slashing resistance, sort of like the tough hide that you would imagine a bear might have. The Feline Aspect makes you agile and quick. It allows you to take the dash, disengage, or hide action as a bonus action. So basically you get the zoomies. The Avian Aspect makes you graceful as a bird. You get to increase your jumping distance by double. You take half damage from falling, and enemies have disadvantage on opportunity attacks made against you. Next up is the Porpoise Aspect, which is basically dolphins and whales. You can hold your breath for a number of hours equal to your con modifier, and you gain a swim speed of 30 feet. And before you give me the, actually, I'm aware that dolphins and whales are technically not the same as porpoises. If I wanted to really lump them in, it would be called a cetacean, but for obvious reasons, I didn't want to get it mixed up with crustacean. Plus, this is a fantasy game, not biology class. And lastly, the Arthropod Aspect. This is your creepy, crawly insects, spiders, and something I just learned today, crustaceans. This aspect lets you crawl along walls and stand on ceilings, and it adds 1d6 poison damage to your weapon attacks. And yes, I looked it up, there are poisonous crabs. You can change your aspect once between rests, or you can expend a spell slot to do it again. This feature is your ability to adapt. You're always going to be able to pick something that's going to come in handy, and if you find that something else works better for you, you can just change it. If you're front and center, the Ursine and the Serpent is probably a great option. If you plan to play it ranged, you're probably going to work best with the Arthropod, Avian, and Feline aspect. And then of course the Porpoise is a must for any sort of underwater exploration. Oh, and did I mention that you can adopt a minor cosmetic change related to the animal that you chose? You're welcome, furries. Next we move on to the level 7 feature called Wild Action. Once per turn, you can create an effect by expending a spell slot, and this effect doesn't require you to spend an action or a bonus action. So now in addition to being able to adapt, you're also able to be unpredictable. When you expend a spell slot to create an effect, the level of the spell slot you expend actually increases the effectiveness of the effect you're creating. Just like your choice from Wilderness Aspect, your wild action depends on the aspect that you choose. The Serpent aspect allows you to make yet another attack without using your action or your bonus action, and based on the level of the spell slot that you expend, you get to increase the attack roll and the damage roll. The Earthseen aspect allows you to gain temporary hit points equal to 10 times the level of the spell slot expended. The Feline aspect gives you something of a smite ability. It allows you to add force damage to your next attack, and that damage is a number of d8s equal to the level of the spell slot that you expended. The Avian aspect increases all of your speeds by 10 feet for every level of the spell slot expended, so you'll be just flying all over the battlefield. The Porpoise aspect gives you something of a stun ability that allows you to do just as dolphins do in real life when they're trying to hunt fish. The next melee attack you make forces the creature to make a con save against your spell save DC, otherwise they gain the stun condition, and the DC is increased by the level of the spell slot that you expend. And lastly, the Arthropod aspect allows you to choose an enemy and force them to make a wisdom saving throw against your spell save DC. If the creature fails, they gain the frightened condition, and just like with the Porpoise aspect, the DC is increased by the level of the spell slot that you expend. One of the most common complaints that I hear about Rangers, and have experienced myself playing a Ranger for well over a year in a campaign, is that they have too much to do with their action economy and not enough to do it with. By taking wild action out of actions and bonus actions, it's going to allow you to free up your turns to be able to do the things you actually want to do. Moving on to a level 11, you get the feature called Dual Aspect. This one is pretty self-explanatory. When you choose your aspect, instead of choosing one animal, you now get to choose two and gain the effects of both. And when you use your wild action, you can now pick between either of the aspects that you have available. This again really increases the versatility that you get to do as a ranger by mixing and matching to make your perfect choice for your situation. Do you want to be something of a quick strike tank? Mix Serpent with Earthseen to be able to get that. Mix the Feline and Avian aspect and you could be an escape artist. Or be an exploration expert by mixing the Porpoise and the Arthropod. With this, there are 15 total combinations you can make between these two animals, so feel free to mix and match and play around with them. I have two standout favorites, and they both involve the Avian aspect. Avian Arthropod basically makes you Spider-Man, being able to jump really far and then stick onto walls. And then of course, Earthseen and Avian can basically make you like an owlbear. And then the final feature at level 15 is Adaptive Aspect. This feature is your ultimate in versatility. Now, whenever you use the wild action feature, before the effects take place, you can change your aspects that you gain the abilities from, and then choose which wild action you're going to take from that new choice. This is going to allow you to get out of and into some very sticky situations depending on what your choices are. Did you just suddenly get surrounded and don't want to be? Take the Avian and Feline aspect and use your wild action to add some extra damage while you use your bonus action to just get away. Did an enemy make an unfortunate mistake of getting in your face? Change to the Serpent and the Porpoise aspect to attempt to stun them and then hit them with a flurry of blows that would make a monk jealous. The possibilities are limitless. Well, no, I mean technically there's 15, but you get a lot of them. So, did you like this subclass? Are you wondering where you can get it? Well, fortunately, you're pretty close. All you have to do is go down into the description, and there is a link to a Google Doc where you can download this subclass for free. Through the link, you'll be able to access a PDF that contains the subclass, its features, and some art made by yours truly. Now, I'm not really much of a graphics artist, but I really did enjoy making these. My favorite is the Stabby Snake. Let me know in the comments your favorite, or if you think that I should just take art classes. You could take the subclass to your GM and ask if they will allow it in their campaign. Now, even though I said that WotC is technically a 5th edition publisher just like any of us, I still am going to recommend that you speak with them first before you just decide to use this. I completely understand if some GMs don't want to allow homebrew stuff into their campaigns and only want to use Wizards of the Coast stuff. But even if they do allow it, be open to any changes they may recommend for balance changes or to make sure that it fits better in their campaign setting. I do the same with WotC stuff. I buff things that are too weak and nerf things that are just way too strong. And if I could do that to theirs, surely mine isn't immune. I said this before, but at Mr. Dice Guy, we love our GMs. And they work really hard to make a fun game that engages us and keeps us interested, so the best thing that we could do is make things easier for them. Admittedly, some of these subclass features are a bit strong, but I don't want to make another weak Ranger subclass, because unlike WotC, I don't hate them, and they need something. And if you're one of my fellow GMs, I highly encourage you to use homebrew in your campaigns and use stuff that wasn't made by Wizards of the Coast in addition to their stuff. There's some really good stuff out there. And this isn't an ad or anything, but some of my favorite 5th edition subclasses comes out of the Grim Hollows Adventures Guide from Ghostfire Gaming. Honestly, they're just so cool. If you like this video, consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to Mr. Dice Guy so you can see when my next videos with more homebrew stuff comes out. I'm looking to publish more subclasses and monsters, magic items, and who knows, maybe even a class. But that's all I have for this video. So until next time, again, thanks for rolling in.